Meeting is called to order. Please stand for the pledge. Welcome, everyone, to the July regular meeting of the Community High School District 94 Board of Education. Mission statement, please.
Community High School will ignite a passion for learning, foster leadership and responsibility, and empower all learners to live their personal best.
Thank you, Rich. Board agreements, please.
Board president or designee is the spokesperson for the board to the media. The superintendent or designee is the spokesperson for the district to the media.
Thank you again, Rich. Roll call, please.
Off easy on this one.
Mr. Brown?
Present.
Mr. Nagel?
Present.
Mr. Ramos?
Present.
Ms. Munoz?
Present.
Ms. Chavez?
Present.
Ms. Murphy?
All right, that brings us to public participation. This is the portion of our meeting where any member of the public may address the Board of Education on any topic. We welcome your comments and will carefully listen to your concerns. We will not be able to engage in a dialogue during public participation, but when appropriate, we will direct the administration to follow up. Presentations are limited to no more than 5 minutes per person with a total time limit of 30 minutes for public participation. If you are making public comment, please speak slowly so the translator is able to keep up with you. If you wish to make personal charges or complaints against individual employees, volunteers, or students of the district, we request that you send the board your concerns in writing rather than stating those concerns during public comment. If anyone currently present wishes to make public comment and hasn't already done so, please fill out one of the comment forms in the back of the room and hand it to someone at the table. At this point, we received no electronic public comment, but we do have some participation forms. So first up would be Julieta Garcia.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am here with members of our community. I believe a month ago we were here to try to impulse and encourage a program for mariachi for students. Incoming freshmen from District 33 have been very strongly involved throughout the state with their mariachi band. I strongly believe that these students deserve that opportunity to continue. Some students are on vacation. But last month, a vast majority of them came and spoke from them, from their hearts, and what they would like to happen here. I am Alderwoman of West Chicago, and I'm also officially the liaison for the Culture and Arts Commission. This is very important that we agree upon citywide that it is very important to have these cultural identity about our population in West Chicago. We are a diverse community, especially majority Latino, and it would be a tremendous example for other schools in our state of Illinois, that we would uplift the diversity of West Chicago by providing programs just like mariachi music. Thank you.
For your comments. That brings up Samantha Munoz.
Hello. I have a speech, my bad. Thank you. Hello. Good afternoon. I am Samantha Munoz, representing all kids that want mariachi in this school. To begin with, West Chicago's population is currently 72.8% Hispanics/Latinos. That is more than 50% of our population here in this town. I don't know exactly, but I think that is. Although the incoming 8th grade mariachi class only has 9 students, not including violins, the incoming 7th grade has over 20 students, not including violins and trumpets. And who knows how many will join in 6th grade. Lehman Middle School has put an example to the high school to look up to. It's supposed to be the other way around, that the middle school should be inspired by the high school, that we set goals because of them. We are a new generation of Mexican Americans that will stand up and will speak out about our issues. My father said when he came to this high school, he could count the Mexican Americans, but now you can't even count the outstanding numbers of Hispanics. We are here to make a difference, to make the change that we know should happen. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. And finally, Dylan Galvin.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Dylan, and I'm a soon-to-be freshman and a formerly student from Mariachi Los Rayos and Mariachi La Tormenta. To be honest, like, I thought it was like supposed to be like the middle school getting inspired by the high school, but like it's the other way around. And like we're still gathering signatures from students, even formerly Mariachi members from the middle school, that we want a mariachi to the high school. Plus, it could give us like a college scholarship, so we can go to college. Sorry. Here's the papers. Those are the papers for like important people that was signing for having a mariachi class, especially for an elective, as like part of the program, not just like a club, but part of the program. Just like in Lehman, because in Lehman we have band, orchestra, and choir, and mariachi. But here in the high school, we only have band, orchestra, and choir. That's it. There's like jazz band, like it's like a club, but like not a part. Like for example, the upcoming mariachi, just a club, but not like a actual class. And we want like an actual class for mariachi to inspire more children, especially from the new generation of the Mexican American kids. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. That's all the comment cards we have received at this point, and just so you know, there will be a discussion later in the board meeting regarding the topic of mariachi and what the process may look like if we were to take a look at that. That brings us to public hearing on renewal of a previously approved driver's education waiver. So first would be overview of the waiver.
So this is just every 5 years you have to apply for a new driver's education fee waiver. The state approves for a $250 fee to assess for behind the wheel. Anything above and beyond the $250 has to go through this process. We historically have gone with a $300 fee to help offset the cost. So this waiver is requesting that we maintain at the $300 behind the wheel fee for driver's education. It'll be a 5-year waiver.
All right, at this point, is there any public comment regarding this waiver? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn the public hearing on the waiver?
Moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, that brings us to the waiver request. The recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the requested waiver on 105 ILCS 5/27-24.2 and authorize the superintendent to submit the request to the Regional Office of Education and to the Illinois State Board of Education as presented and made a part hereof.
Moved. Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Nagel?
Aye.
Mr. Remus?
Aye.
Ms. Munoz?
Aye.
Ms. Chavez?
Aye.
Ms. Murphy?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye. Motion carries. That brings us to our second public hearing of the night. Public hearing on proposed renewal of adopted e-learning program. Starting off with an overview of the proposed e-learning program.
So we currently have an e-learning plan in place right now, which we had to exercise one day this past year. Obviously for inclement weather, to allow students access to education remotely. This is just going through that renewal process. It's a 3-year renewal process. The plans will remain the same. Nothing's changed. Anything of significance have changed over the course of the last 3 years. Nothing will change moving forward for the next 3 years. So we're just seeking approval to move forward with this 3-year renewal of the e-learning program.
Is there any public comment regarding the e-learning program waiver? All right, is there a motion to adjourn the public hearing on the proposed adoption of an e-learning program?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that brings us to the renewal of the e-learning program. The recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the proposed renewal of the e-learning program as presented at the public hearing conducted on July 15th, 2025.
So moved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Ramos,
Aye.
Ms. Munoz,
Aye.
Ms. Chavez,
Aye.
Ms. Murphy,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Nagel.
Aye.
Motion carries. That brings us to reports and information. The Executive Director of Business Services report.
Thank you, Bob. As the board likely noticed, there is an agenda item for the purchase of a driver's ed vehicle on the tonight's agenda. Although the board approved the purchase of a Nissan Altima at the May 27th board meeting, that deal with Bill K. Nissan fell through and we could not come to terms. As such, and since we still need another vehicle, I reached out to our local West Chicago dealer, Ford Hagerty, and found a good deal for a used Ford Taurus vehicle. So they've placed that car on hold until the board could approve for tonight. And so that's on the agenda for the board to approve tonight at $15,540. Quick update on federal funding that you might have seen in the news. As of July 11th, the federal government has frozen most title funding for all schools in Illinois. This action may affect the district's Title I, II, III, and IV funding, and likely will delay the approval of those budgets along with the reimbursement of the spending. At this point, because of the district's good financial standing, we plan to move forward with the assumption that these funds will become available at some point during the school year. We'll continue to monitor the situation and report any update to the board as it comes available. Construction update, everything's on schedule. The main roof and the main hallway ceiling and lighting projects are complete. The third floor bathrooms are very close to completion. Stadium lighting should be complete by the end of the week. The Bishop Gym refinishing project is close to completion. They're working on getting that stained and then painted. And then lastly, the transition apartment is on schedule. Windows have been installed. It is watertight, and they're working on the inside, putting up drywall. And so they're working on the exterior for the siding, and then the metal roof as well. But they're definitely on schedule, so that's starting to look really good. And then last update, as noted in the board agenda, there is a quote for the repair of the pool drain under new business. The quote is to install a liner in the drain line for portions of the line that's collapsed. As noted in the memo, in addition to the liner, we'll need to do some excavating to gain access to the drain line. At this point, we're unsure of how many access points that they will need to dig. We currently have a quote for one access point in the amount of $7,800. Additional access points will cost an additional $2,125 each. So we'll come back to the board at the August Committee of the Whole meeting to update the board of our progress. And that concludes my report.
Dan. All right, thank you, Dan. Interim Executive Director of Human Resources report.
Thank you. Good evening. Let me start off by sharing how very impressed I am with the significant efforts of the vetting of applicants and the securing of personnel recommendations by our school administration and the staff and faculty that have participated in that process on their own time, along with HR specialist Lynn Booth. As a result of their hard work, pending board action tonight to the personnel report, we will be approximately 95% staffed for this upcoming school year. If needed, while not ideal, we are currently staffed to the extent that we could begin the school year as is, with some minor adjustments and effectively function. However, please know we are aggressively going after each of our remaining openings. I sincerely believe many school districts around the state would be jealous of us and would love to be in the position that we are at this time in the summer. We still have one licensed position open, an administrative position. That's the Director of Multilingual and Cultural Services. We are deep in the process, and as of now, we feel confident that we'll be bringing you a recommendation for that position in the very near future. In addition, we have several support staff positions still open. While the pool of candidates is somewhat shallow, we currently have some viable candidates that we are currently seriously reviewing. In regards to new faculty orientation, individually, the new staff have been trickling in each week to take advantage of the summer flex day we offer each of them. Let me tell you, it is extremely impressive when they come in just to feel their enthusiasm and energy. Their formal 3-day orientation as a group is scheduled for August 6th through 8th. Please let me know if you have any questions about what I just shared or any questions about the consent agenda report, HR report, which does include one at the table addition, a part-time program assistant. Other than that, I believe the report is very straightforward for this time of year. Thank you.
Questions? Thank you, Carrie. Principal's report.
I have 2 updates for you. The first is on my transition to the principal role. So the transition into the principal role has been exciting, and I'm pleased to share that I've had the opportunity to meet with several staff members, community partners, and students. I also attended our senior honors ceremony, our AVID senior celebration, commencement, and I also attended the West Chicago Waves of DuPage Public Arts Celebration, and that featured a depiction of our high school. These experiences have really allowed me to develop a sense of the school community and also an understanding of our end-of-year celebrations. Over the past month, I've also had the chance to meet with some of our students that are participating in our summer programming, along with the dedicated staff that we have supporting those efforts. I have also had initial meetings with 2 of our middle school feeder principals, that is Benjamin and Lehman, to learn more about their school communities and build on our existing collaboration. I just want to share that I'm truly grateful for the warm welcome that I've received from the school community, and I have witnessed firsthand the great culture and strong sense of belonging at Weagle. The next update is athletics. Our summer camps are concluding at the end of the month for all athletic teams. We had 154 students participate across various sports, and we look forward to the kickoff of our sports season on August 27th with our annual Blue and White Night.
Any questions? All right, thank you, Lamaris. Superintendent's report.
I'd first like to take this opportunity to officially welcome Dr. Poyo and Dr. Federaro to the Weagle family. Both of them have hit the ground running, and I couldn't be more excited to have them on our team. The experience and wealth of knowledge they bring to our organization will not only serve as a valuable resource for our students and staff, but will continue to move our district in a positive direction. Last week, I informed the board that we'll be waiving all fees for students and families who qualify for free and reduced lunch. This directly aligns with the law and our board policy, but more importantly, it helps to remove barriers when our students are attempting to access driver's education, athletics, activities, advanced placement testing, and so much more. Finally, we've received 4 FOIA requests since the last regular Board of Education meeting and have responded within the required time frame. All requests have been included in your packet. This concludes my report.
For Kurt.
Do you have any idea what the cost of all the fees that we're waiving are going to be?
So that's a difficult question to answer because we have never categorized reduced fees. So, for example, a family of 4 that earns $39,000 would qualify for free, right? And they would get all fees waived under that. So that should include driver's education, should include driver's education behind the wheel, which it did not before, should include athletics, participation fees, should include graduation fees, et cetera, et cetera. So that should have all been included. If you earned $39,001, you would technically qualify under the reduced category. However, we have never had a reduced category. So to fully understand the composition of those families that would fall into the reduced category, we don't have a baseline to understand that. So to ask the impact financially, I can't give you an accurate answer because we've never had a mechanism to trigger the reduced category.
For the fee waiver, we're not looking at reduced fees, we're looking at free right across the board then?
Free across the board for reduced and free. And that follows the federal guidelines. Off the top of my head, and I'll get you the exact number, I believe it is 130% and 180% of the poverty level would go free and reduced. If you qualify for free or reduced, those fees would be waived. Does that make sense?
No limit on the number of activities or the number of athletic.
We can't, as an educational institution, we can't allow finances to be a barrier to access. We can't do that. That's not okay. So this is removing that financial barrier to allow our students to access more opportunities, whether it's through AP testing, whether it's through athletics or activities. And that is fully supported through our board policy, and it's fully supported through the law.
Policy, is there a list of all the fees that are?
In the policy, it's a general list that mirrors the language of the law.
Other fees beyond what's in the law that are applicable here? I guess the question is, if someone were to sit down and say, okay, tell me.
We're generating that list.
Owls and all kinds of things. So we're creating a list.
We are, yeah.
And that'll be available at registration in the handbook?
Hopefully by the end of this week. So this is all new developments in the last week and a half, 2 weeks. So we're scrambling to make sure that we get everything tightened up for the registration process.
Just to clarify, so currently we don't have a protocol in place in terms of how families or students identify, self-identify?
We have a protocol in place for how they self-identify. But we don't have we never had a mechanism for the reduced portion. So if you were $1 over the limit, you had to pay full fees. And then under the free category, if you qualified for free, not everything was waived.
Any documentation required to support the application or the?
No, the law doesn't permit it. It allows us to audit, I believe, up to 2%. It might be 3% of the requests coming in.
Basically, any family with students that we go can come in and say, oh, below this level, and they would have all fees waived.
I guess potentially that could happen, but I would like to think on the inverse side of this, for the last 14 years that we have been denying opportunities for kids to access these.
Well, I agree. I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just a little concerned about the divided world. So I'm not at all saying we should not do what we're doing. I'm just wondering what kind of repercussions we may.
We do have the.
How are we prepared for that?
Yeah, we do have the ability to spot check the 2 or 3% if we think that it is, if something seems out of line.
Dr. Johansson, so if a parent is accessing the free and reduced lunch form though, there's still markers that they have to validate in terms of like their pay stubs or their earnings in order to fill out that application. So that is clearly identified on the free and reduced lunch form, correct?
That is identified. But what your question was, can we investigate and dive deep into it?
Oh, that was exactly what I was asking. Is there any kind of supporting documentation?
Okay, yeah.
And that was my concern, is that you just write in a magic number and say, you have to take it on total trust. And thank validating everything.
Kurt, I want to say thank you for removing this financial barrier. I think that's going to help a lot of families. Based on some of the board's questions, maybe sometime as we go into the year, some kind of report back to the board showing number of families impacted, amount of fees that have been waived as a result of this, that sort of thing would be good.
Yeah, we'll definitely, this is going to be our baseline year to understand. What we currently sit at is at around 50% low income. We anticipate by expanding this to include the reduced, our reporting to the state will increase, could be 10 to 15% more, which would be more of an accurate representation of our student body.
Does that move the bar in a favorable direction as far as grants and other revenue kind of generating things?
We're over the 42%. So if you recall, literally 1 year ago today, we talked about moving from targeted to comprehensive from the Title I. So it taken a full year process to do that. That has been submitted. Egan has done the groundwork to get that submitted. Whether we go from 50 to 60% is not going to impact that number once you go from targeted to comprehensive. There's still a lot of other issues out there with the title grant money, as Dan alluded to earlier, but that wouldn't impact our status.
All right, sounds good. Thank you for your report, Kurt. That brings us to future dates. July 30th, 2025, we have a board governance retreat. August 5th is a committee of the whole meeting, and August 19th is a regular Board of Education meeting. That brings us to board members' open comments.
The purchase of the new car and the driver's ed waiver kind of triggered something in my mind that somewhere along the line we should think about hybrid cars into our driver's ed, because I'll experience it's a different world. And a lot of movement towards that, and for a teenager to learn driver's ed in a conventional car and get into a hybrid or something like that, at least behind the wheel in our simulators and things. If we don't, we should be looking into getting hybrid simulators, and as soon as practical financially, we may want to include a hybrid car. It looks like it's too late now for the one we're in the process of buying, but somewhere along the line, I think strongly suggest we look into how we would do that.
All right, any other open comments from board members? All right, any future issues anybody would like to see addressed? All right, hearing none, that moves us to the consent agenda. Does anybody wish any items removed from the consent agenda for separate action? Hearing none, the recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda for the minutes, financials, and reports We Go Together for Kids, Care, Solace, and Personnel Report as presented.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Munoz?
Aye.
Ms. Chavez?
Aye.
Ms. Murphy?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Nagel?
Aye.
Mr. Ramos?
Aye.
Motion carries. That brings us to old business, Press Plus 118 policies, third review and approval. The recommended motions that the Board of Education approve the following Press Plus 118 policies. Policy 1:30, School District Philosophy. Policy 2:265, Title IX Grievance Procedure. Policy 6:235, Access to Electronic Networks. Policy 7:190, Student Behavior. And Policy 7:255, Students who are parents, expected parents, or victims of domestic or sexual violence.
Second.
Okay, before we get into any discussion on this, I wanted to apologize to the board. It was an oversight on my part that approval of policies for a first or second reading had gotten put into the consent agenda. It should not have been in the consent agenda. The intent is that we want to encourage the ability of the board to have full and deep dives into all of the policies and that by the time we've done with the first and second reading, and by the time we're done with the second reading, that the board as a whole is comfortable with approving the policies, whether they be what was originally presented or if they've encountered some changes along the way. So I do apologize for that, and it will no longer be in the consent agenda. It will always be a separate item to encourage us to have that discussion. That being said, I know Rich had some concerns about some of these policies in the past, and I know that Kurt had made some adjustments. So if you want to go over the adjustments.
We can just kind of talk about that point a little bit further, just so we can agree on the process moving forward for approving policy. So we'll do first reading at the cow, second reading at the regular, but they will not be in consent. Is that what I'm hearing you would like to take place moving forward?
Never in the consent, so that it encourages that deep dive if board members wish to deep dive on any of the policies. Is everybody comfortable with that?
Yeah.
The second reading will also be the approval. So we will not go a third reading.
Well, if the second reading doesn't have any changes to it. I mean, the purpose of the readings is to distribute the information and get feedback. So if at the second reading there's no concern either from the community or from the board, then we could still some issues at the second reading, then we need.
If there's still issues that can't immediately be resolved, if the board has discussion and the board reaches consensus on some adjustments, we can approve them at that second meeting. But if there's still things that are outstanding that need further research or whatever, then yes, we can put off those policies for the next meeting.
Yes, that issues like that would probably involve less likely that we would be able to resolve those issues at a second reading if there were issues coming up.
Last year, the request was made that the policy be handed out a week prior to the first reading. Everybody still comfortable with that? So a week prior to the first reading,
So you
second reading.
hopefully have a chance to come up with initial questions as part of that first reading to give administration more time to prepare for the second reading. A specific item to put in your weekly update.
We've got it.
All right, so we have a process.
All right, a couple of the changes of note. Policy 1:30 is the school district philosophy that will include our mission, vision, core values, and our long-term goals from the strategic plan. The other issue of note that Rich and I discussed was policy 7:190. There was just one word that was struck from that policy. Everything else is the same as before.
I will still say that 6235, access to electronic net, still includes AI at this point. Argue about it, but I would just recommend that we look closer at the AI and pull that out, because AI is policy is written. Basically, it says you can't use our network to do AI, but that's not the only access you have.
I would imagine there's a best practice that schools are starting to grapple with as far as how AI is handled.
Part of this policy includes establishing a committee, which we will establish this year to help drive that, which will be a branch off of this policy down the road once the committee's been established by the teachers and what that AI is going to look like.
So this basically gets something in the policy for the start of the school year, since obviously AI is a much bigger issue with this school year than it was even last school year. Any other comments or concerns or questions about the current batch of policies we're talking about tonight? All right, roll call, please.
Ms. Chavez?
Aye, sorry.
Ms. Murphy?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Nagel?
Aye.
Mr. Remus?
Aye.
Ms. Munoz?
Aye.
Motion carries. That brings us to new business, driver's education car purchase. The recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the purchase of the specified Ford Taurus from Haggerty Ford, West Chicago, Illinois for driver's education in the amount of $15,540 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Murphy?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Nagel?
Aye.
Mr. Remus?
Aye.
Ms. Munoz?
Aye.
Ms. Chavez?
Aye.
Motion carries. Fence installation approval upper garage. The recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the installation of a fence by Peerless Fence, St. Charles, Illinois, at the upper garage in the amount of $13,000.
Moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Nagel?
Aye.
Mr. Ramus?
Aye.
Ms. Munoz?
Aye.
Ms. Chavez?
Aye.
Ms. Murphy?
Aye.
Motion carries. Fire alarm inspection, Assurant Fire Protection. The recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the quote from Assurant Fire Protection, Warrenville, Illinois, for the inspection of fire alarms throughout the building in the amount of $12,640.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Nagel?
Aye.
Mr. Ramus?
Aye.
Ms. Munoz?
Aye.
Ms. Chavez?
Aye.
Ms. Murphy?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye. Motion carries. Software renewals. The recommended motion, the Board of Education approve the software renewals as presented.
Moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Ramus?
Aye.
Ms. Munoz?
Aye.
Ms. Chavez?
Aye.
Ms. Murphy?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Nagel?
Aye.
Motion carries. Pool drain repair. The recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the estimate from American Trenchless Technologies, DeKalb, Illinois, in the amount of $19,983 for the repair of the collapsed pool drain line.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Munoz?
Aye.
Ms. Chavez?
Aye.
Ms. Murphy?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Nagel?
Aye.
Mr. Ramus?
Aye.
Motion carries. JEA National High School Journalism Convention. The recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the requested trip to the JEA National High School Journalism Convention in Nashville, Tennessee from November 12th to 16, 2025 for the journalism program.
Moved.
Second.
Any?
Are you volunteering? We'll ask.
Do a background check.
It's been done.
That's true.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Chavez?
Aye.
Ms. Murphy?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Nagel? Mr. Ramus?
Aye.
Ms. Munoz?
Aye.
Motion carries. Those are all the approvals we need for tonight. Now we're going to have a presentation and discussion about the proposal for mariachi program.
Yeah, so I want to thank everyone for coming this evening, and I want to applaud the students who spoke last month and again this evening to advocate for what you want. That's what public education is all about. We're here to serve the community, we're here to serve the students, and we're here to ensure that we have opportunities to explore your passions within the classroom and beyond. So thank you for that. It goes a long way and it means a lot to us, to me as a superintendent, and to our board. I had a chance to look at the petitions. I had a chance to do a little digging, a little research, just getting through my first year here. So here's a little context that I came up with, and I'm going to speak to everybody here since this is why we're here tonight for a strong portion of the meeting. So apparently back in 2010 and 11, there was a curriculum proposal that was presented to start a class, the mariachi class. So that happened in 2010 and 11. In 2012 and 13, there was a curriculum map that was developed, and this was put on the books, and we actually ran a course for 1 or 2 years, is my understanding. And due to declining enrollment, the course was dissolved around 2013, 2014. Then around 2016, 2017, the mariachi program started at Lehman and has been strong ever since. And then I think there was a resurgence back in 2019, 2020 to have the mariachi program come back as a course, and there wasn't enough students that were interested. So here's what as a superintendent, in my perspective, the students want it, let's do it, right? But there's a process we have to take. It's not just, well, let's start tomorrow. That's not how it works. So the first step and the most immediate step, starting in the fall, is Dr. Pollo will be meeting with our activities director to start up a club in the fall to get it going. The nice thing about this is that this course is already in the books. So we don't have to go through a year-long process to do a course proposal and a request because the board, back in 2010, 2012-ish, has already approved this course. So we can go ahead and offer this course in, Mary, November, October, November, when course requests come out. So we can put this on the books for October, November for the students to sign up for the course.
For 26, 27.
For 26, 27. It's not for this year, because this year, everything is already laid out and planned, right? It's the end of July. So this can go on the books, students can sign up for the course in October, November, when course requests come out. But there's gotta be interest. So as much passion, I'm looking at the young adults in the back, as much passion as you've had this month to be here, talk to your classmates, talk to them, get them excited about this class, because you're ultimately gonna drive the need. If there's enough students that sign up for the class, we're running it. We are. But if there's only one kid that signs up, we can't run it. So there has to be interest from the students. So you get that interest from your classmates, and we'll make sure this class runs. But it's gonna come down to you guys, all right? So that's where we stand. We can't bypass our process. As much as we understand that there's a need right now, financially, we can't do this in 3 weeks. We don't have the teachers to do this in 3 weeks. They haven't been trained. They haven't gone to the professional development needed to ensure that this program is implemented with fidelity. And we don't have anybody that signed up for the course for this year. So it has to wait to the 26-27 school year. But that process is going to start really quick. I mean, I know it seems like a long time away, but October is right around the corner when course requests happen. So.
Design of this course is a 1 semester or a 2 semester? We need a minimum to get it started? What are the
Historically,
details?
yeah, I spoke with Lisa Wilwhite, the division head. She said it was a semester course, so we need enough students to run at least a semester of it. And she said typically a course like this would need around a minimum of 8, ideally 15. But I know Dr. Poyo and Ms. Wilwhite are going to be working on this course proposal to refine it a little bit to make sure we have everything tightened up.
Changed our music venue as well, so the course will fit in with the current infrastructure we have as far as rooms and things.
Oh, we've got the space for it. I'm not worried about the infrastructure, but the professional development, it is. I'm not a music person, so I'm the last person to probably be commenting on what skills are needed to run this course. But I know it's a little bit different than some of the other courses that we teach in that music department. So we'll have to send a couple of our teachers away for professional development to ensure they're trained to meet the needs of the kids in the course. Definitely.
Purchase, or I think we had purchased some stuff when we were first doing this.
I would have to look into that. If we have equipment here, we'll use that. If we need to purchase additional equipment, we'll price that out and come back with a quote for that equipment.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
We used to have send that to all of us. The questions I have is the process of finding a sponsor for it and how that's all going to be put together. And in this case, you need equipment. How are you going to do a club with it? So to get some idea of it, just out of curiosity, and I don't know who it was said, this year the 8th grade graders coming in, there were only 9 kids, so I would think a club would be adequate for this year, and the plan that you're proposing makes a lot of sense, but I'd like to know how the club process works too, just as a refresher, because it's come up in my tenure here twice with different groups who are trying to form things. So I'd like to see it again. And I looked online and couldn't find where that was. It's definitely not in policies.
It's part of the CBA.
Activities.
It's part of the collective bargaining agreement as far as the sponsorship in clubs.
But there's a process that the students who want to form it go through to come to the district and ask, this is what we want to do, this is how. What the minimum
A
number
presentation
was.
for August Committee of the Whole, possibly?
If we can find that process, I will definitely bring it to the committee of the whole. Yeah.
Does that process include 8th grade students coming to the high school and asking for that? Freshmen attending here to ask for that?
In order for us to run, it has to be our students requesting it here. There has to be an interest from our current students in order for a club to be established here, yeah.
So there's almost kind of a lost year then. So if they graduate 8th grade, they're automatically considered our students then?
Yep.
So they can, over the summer, be suggesting starting that next August?
It typically happens the first couple weeks of the school year, once the kids get back in and they start to generate that interest. I'd have to work with our new activities director and Dr. Pollo to see what that process is for starting a club and activity. I'm not familiar with it off the top of my head, but I can find that out.
It seems different from other clubs that this is more of a transitioning club than just, you're here at the high school, start a club for this or that, a knitting club. Somehow we have to sort of bridge that summertime so that we're preparing in advance if we're going to have students.
Two organizations or two groups that initiated clubs that I recall. That documentation, trying to dig through everything in the world, because I spent some time digging and nowhere to be found on anything that we have online, so maybe.
Any other questions or comments?
Dr. Johansson or Dan, I'm not sure who might be able to answer this question, but, given what you reported earlier today on federal funding, but I was just wondering, in this case, with this type of curriculum within the music program, is there specific PD allotted for this type of programming under like a Title III? Specific professional development monies on that?
Oh, it hasn't been allocated yet, because this is the conversation that we're having, but this could be an excellent source for Title III funds.
And then,
We get 'em.
Go ahead.
We get them? Is that what you said? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said, referencing your previous conversation from earlier this evening. My last question would be, in terms of transition, I'm just wondering if it were to become a part of the curriculum, this would be something that we could bring to possibly like an 8th grade interest night, correct?
Oh, for sure. Like we would with anything.
With
yes.
anything, okay.
Yeah,
Just
most
wanted to make
definitely.
sure.
Mhm.
All right, Kurt, thank you very much for the presentation on that, and it's going to be exciting to see some mariachi programs get underway at our school.
Thanks, Kurt.
All right, that concludes our business. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you for a productive meeting.